So can you say a little bit about the structure of the book, the different sections in which it's divided?
Tom, I'd like to, but I really can't because the book fell into those sections almost by itself.
Hmm.
I just read and I grouped the poems in the ones that I thought not were thematically similar, but which, when you finished them, left you with a similar feeling. And I can't go beyond that. I mean, the in this one section, for example, the first part where the title is "To Be Reminded." To
Hmm.
be reminded. There's a poem called "Who." Who? WHO? Question mark. Recognition's not the problem, but craving recognition is. Some bet on how they look, but banking on looks is fickle. Consider movie stars long past their prime and unremembered. The same holds true for those who make what's private public merely for attention. When something singular in private becomes plural in public, it loses all distinction. Distinction is what all wire walkers, astronauts, strippers, and assassins want. Assassins? Every president's assassin but one wanted to be known for what he did. Oswald was blamed for doing what was done and then denying that he'd done it. Murdered before trial, he'll always be guilty as charged for what he never admitted. Lone gunman, lone liar, or lone patsy. He changed a century.
It's funny how Oswald almost emerges as the hero of this poem in comparison to all the other people who are trying to get recognition in a bizarre way.
Well, recognition is not difficult. I mean, if Oswald will be remembered for the end of time for what he did with a rifle that cost him $14.99 from a mail catalog. And if you believe that he was a lone shooter, which I don't believe at all, where a man with a cheap rifle firing at a moving target and hitting it twice, that's asking a lot to believe.
Right.
There's a sister poem to this. The poem is called "Thou Shalt Kill."
Okay.
And it has to do with something that I've come to accept reluctantly, and that is that we Americans now are, in some ways, a murderous people. I mean, in war since 1950, we've lost about 88,000 men and women in war. The number of wounded is 5 times that. We number, and I didn't believe this, 8,805 suicides a year.
Yeah.
Our homicide rate is, some say, but we'll settle for 26 a day, compared to 13 a year in Japan.
Right.
Owning a rifle or a weapon or a sword is illegal. Consequently, with regard to war, we tend to dress it up. You never go to war to kill. You go to save somebody. You go to save the government. You go to prevent worse things from happening. All these things. But what it comes down to is you go there to kill. And it has to be doctored up. So this is the poem that I wrote about that. Thou shalt kill. On D-Day alone, 10,000 died. Cemeteries in France commemorate them, grave by grave. The Battle of Tarawa lasted for 72 hours. 1,000 Marines were killed or drowned. Their bodies floated face down in the tide or sprawled half buried in the sand. Of 4,800 Japanese, only 17 survived. Nations rightly honor the lost, but killing is killing. When waged for honor and other deceits, war makes the killing likelier and lawful. Historians claim that Greece made war on Troy over a kidnapped wife named Helen. In fact, Helen welcomed the abduction. Paris was young and handsome compared to the braggart she married. Greeks would fight to save a kidnapped wife, but not one who loved her abductor. They settled instead for a plausible lie. Determined to trade on the Black Sea that Troy controlled, the Greeks knew war was the key, but only if seen as noble. Rescuing Helen of Troy from Troy is what their cause became. When dangers widen into wars, what worked at Troy still works, though Troy is off the map and Helen has other names.